Thank you for your patience. You may remain seated. I will redo the announcement in a moment. So please take your places. Thank you. And please rise for the international president.
I call our 65th convention to order. Good morning, my fellow Zontians, and welcome to this convention. Before we get started with our program, I would like to introduce a few people. First, it is my pleasure to introduce the International Board for 2020-2022. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. President-elect Uta Schultz. Vice President Sala Tumanen. Treasurer Secretary Mari McKenzie. Director Hortense Shakiti. Director Suella Cumming. Director Florence Fisher Herbert. Director Fernanda Gallo Frushke. Director Akiko Kinoshita. Director Dorte Olesen. And Director Ina Wasserling. Please be seated, and it is my pleasure now to introduce our Zonta International parliamentarian, Alice Bartelt. who will be assisting during the convention. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Allison Summers, who has led Zonta International Headquarters staff and the operations of Zonta International and the Zonta Foundation for Women per direction of the international boards. Two years ago, we adopted biennial goals under the theme transitions, changes, and new opportunities. I don't think then we could have imagined what the last 2 years would hold and how much we have to adapt and change. When I think about those last 2 years, I think about all the healthcare workers, teachers, and other essential workers who showed up day in and day out throughout the pandemic. If you are an essential worker, please stand at your seats, and everyone else, please join me for a round of applause in recognition of their service. Thank you. While these last 2 years have been difficult in many ways, I am also so proud of our collective resilience, determination, and steadfast commitment to our mission to empower women and girls. Today, we are here to celebrate the successes of the biennium, discuss the challenges we face as an organization, and make important decisions of the future of Zonta. Allow me, please, to start by recognizing the 2022 convention chairman, past international president Diane Curtis, Ellen Carroll, Britta Becker, and Fraka Pape in the team and all the teams of volunteers serving as monitors and supporting protocol, registration and credentials, and everyone involved in the preparations for this convention. They have been working diligently for more than 2 years to bring the best convention experience possible. Thank you. Thanks also to District 27 Governor Ann Neitz and our local Zonchans for welcoming us to their district and making us feel at home here in Hamburg. We begin now with the recognition of some very special Zonchans who have contributed to empowering women through service and advocacy over the last 2 years. I ask each individual group to stand for recognition and receive their applause. Zonta International and Zonta Foundation for Women boards, please stand. The appointed international committee chairmen this biennium have worked tirelessly in support of the biennial goals, and they have achieved so much despite the challenges we have faced. It is now my honor to introduce the 2020-2022 International Committee Chairman. Please stand together as a group, and we will recognize you. And now, with those international committee members of those committees, in addition to the chairman, please stand. I'm sure there's some committee members of those committees. And now, let's greet our governors of 2022, and they are called the Comets. Please rise, governors. We are so pleased to be able to recognize you and thank you for your hard work for these 2 years. This biennium, we raised more than 4.4 million US dollars towards our biennial fundraising goal and an additional 947,000 US dollars for the endowment. Thank you to our Foundation Development Committee, Foundation Ambassadors, Endowment Committee, and Endowment Regional Representatives for their efforts on behalf of the Zonta Foundation for Women. I would also like to recognize districts 17, 29, and 9 for being the top 3 districts in total contributions to the foundation for the entire biennium. With the Zontians from District 17, 29, and 9, please stand. Thank you for all your work. I continue with our recognition. I would also like to welcome our delegates and alternates. Would you please stand up? All participants play an important role in making this convention a success. Delegates, and in their absence, the alternates, together with our other voting members, have the additional privilege and responsibility to make sound decisions on behalf of the clubs for the benefit of Zonta International. We have all read the club mailing and understand the questions that will be put in front of us during this convention. Before any vote, we must ask ourselves, will this decision benefit Zonta? Please use your votes to further develop and strengthen Zonta for the future. Please join me now in welcoming a very important group, our first timers. Would you please stand and be recognized? I know we have a lot. I hope that all of you were able to join us for the first timers meet and greet yesterday. And I know that there were standing room only and that it happened instead of one session. We had 2 sessions. They were shortened, but we tried to accommodate all of you. And I encourage you as first timers to participate actively during the business sessions and the social events and the workshops. If you are a first timer and you're joining us virtually, I hope that I get a chance to meet you in person, and I will see you at a future convention. Special recognition is also given to a very distinguished group of Zontians who are very dear to all of us, our past international presidents. We have 6 of our PIPs with us today, and the others are joining us virtually. Will our past international presidents please stand and be recognized? Before we move on, I would also like to acknowledge our 2018-2020 leadership team. We could not be together in Chicago to recognize your work during the last biennium, so we would like to do so now. Would the 2018-2020 Zonta International and Zonta Foundation for Women Boards, the International Committee Chairman, and Governors, please stand and thank you for your service last biennium. May we now have the credentials report by the Chairman of the Credentials Committee, Jane Addams. As Jane is coming to the podium, I ask all delegates to locate your voting device and have them ready to vote after the presentation of the credentials report. Remember this that you got? Okay. I go.
Good morning. Would you please turn to page 50 in your convention booklet for the Credentials Committee report? You may wish to use this form to fill in the numbers as I give them. Are you ready for the numbers? As of Sunday, the 26th of June at 8:15 a.m., the number of voting members are as follows. International Board, 11. That's 1. Past international presidents, 5. That's 5. Governors, 28. That's 2, 8. Delegate votes and proxy votes carried by voting members, 1,123. That's 1, 2, 3. The total votes, 1,167. That's 1, 6, 7. I will repeat those one more time. International Board, 11, 1. Past international presidents, 5. Governors, 28 or 2, 8. Delegates, votes, and proxy votes carried by voting members, 1,123. That's 1, 2, 3. Total votes, 1,167. That's 1, 6, 7. Madam President, on behalf of the Credentials Committee, I move that the roll of delegates hereby submitted be the official roll of voting members of this convention.
Thank you. It has been moved to adopt the report of the Credentials Committee. Given that the motion comes from a committee, it requires no second. Are there any questions on this report? Maria Jose, Pip Maria Jose. Yes, and did they not all register, go to the credentials?
I believe not, and I will verify that.
Okay, do we want to hold on the vote or do you want to?
I would go ahead and I would change that at the future if we.
Okay, so this is the report that you have of today,
Correct.
right at this moment. And we will verify, Maria Jose, for the next credentials report that we have registered all of the PIPs. Thank you. So are you ready for the question? Please prepare your voting machines that you have in front of you. All those in favor of adoption of the report of the Credentials Committee indicating the total number of votes, please vote yes by pressing 1 and no for pressing 2. We will give you 90 seconds for this first one, just this first one. After that, you're only going to get a minute. So, because this is our first vote, I'm giving you extra time but please vote now. There 99.7% yes. 3%, 0.3%. Sorry, I didn't see the 0.3. No votes. The motion has passed and the report of the Credentials Committee is adopted. Jane, thank you for your work, and we will ask you to give an updated credentials report at the opening of each business session at which voting takes place. Our international bylaws state that a majority of the registered voting members and proxies shall constitute a quorum at convention. I declare a quorum present for the legal conduct of business at the 65th Zonta International Convention. I now invite Registration Chairman Alice Chick to give us a brief registration report. This report does not require a vote for adoption. This is for our information only. Please record the figures in your convention booklet on page 50.
Thank you, Madam President. I am happy to report the following registration statistics as per 8:15 a.m. on Sunday. Sorry, I had the 26th of June. The registrations were as follows. International Board 12. It is different because Alice is a non-voting member, but she is considered a board member for the convention. International presidents, past international presidents, 6 on-site and 3 virtual. Governors, 29 on-site and 2 virtual. Other members registered, 1,317. Virtual members attendees, 525. Virtual members plus 1-day attendance, 181. Guests, 122. The total is 2,197. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Alice, for your report, and our thanks to you and to Jane for your committees, for the long hours for the registration and credentials. Before we continue, I would like to review with you some of the procedures that will help our business move along smoothly. Again, please make sure that all delegates are seated in the designated delegate section when we are doing our voting. I call upon international parliamentarian Alice Bartel to present some preliminary information about the conduct of our business and to present the standing rules.
Okay, thank you, President Sharon. The standing rules are found on pages 28 to 30 in your program book. It is important that everyone is familiar with the convention standing rules. And there are two that are especially important. The first is to identify yourself when speaking at the microphone by giving your name and your official capacity. By official capacity, I mean a delegate of whatever the name of your club is, or a governor, or another group as the governors, or if you're a member of the international board or a past international president. The second is the amount of time allowed to each speaker on each subject. That is limited to 2 minutes. It is important for you to know that the microphones labeled pro, which I believe is right here on this side,
Over here.
although I might be backwards. I can't see
Over
them,
here.
so but go to the microphone if you're speaking in pro, and con is over there, and no, I got them backwards. Okay, pro is over here, con's over there, and the procedural mic is in the middle. Thank you. The microphone label procedures is to be used only for the following types of actions. Point of order, if you believe that there's been a violation of the procedure. Point of parliamentary inquiry, if you need to check on correct procedure. Request for information, if you need to ask a question on the pending motion in order to vote intelligently. You can make a motion to recess from that mic, which would be an immediate recess if it, and if you ask for that. And a previous question to end the debate and to vote on the motion immediately without further discussion. Also, at the con mic, if you want to make an amendment to the motion that's on the floor, you need to go there. And if you are going to do an amendment, please let the monitor know that you have an amendment, and you will go before the people speaking against the motion. Okay, the motion for the previous question, which ends debate, and to vote on the motion immediately without further discussion, requires a 2/3 vote. It has to be seconded and requires a 2/3 vote in the affirmative to stop debate. And the reason for that is we're taking voters' rights away when we ask to stop debate. So it does take a 2/3 vote. The procedural center mic is not to be used to debate a question or to give information. The votes will be taken using the voting devices given to you that you just used and did a great job with. You'll find the rest of the standing rules on pages 28 to 30. I think we're ready for a motion.
I recognize President-elect Uda Schultz. Your motion to adopt. Pardon me.
I'm President-elect Ute Scholz, and I move to adopt this motion. And it's seconded by Treasurer Murray.
The standing rules have been presented. Anyone, I see someone at the pro mic. Con mic. We're still getting these working. Con mic.
Madam President, My name is Gracie Sarens. I am the incoming president and the delegate of Zonta Waasland District 27. I move that the agenda will be changed, whereby the presentations of the resolutions will be
Excuse me,
handled.
excuse me, we are now talking about the standing rules. Are you changing, we are going to address the agenda? This is the motion regarding the standing rules.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Do we have anything regarding the standing rules? So it has been moved and seconded to adopt the convention standing rules as printed. Is there discussion on the standing rules? I think we have taken care of that. Remember that if anyone wishes to amend this motion, the amendment shall be presented to me in writing first, and the maker of the amendment shall speak from the con microphone. The maximum time for the discussion will be 10 minutes. This adoption requires 2/3 affirmative vote. All those in favor of adopting the standing rules of convention as presented, please vote yes for pressing 1, and those opposed by 2. And we are cutting it now to the 60 seconds. You have shown that you can do that in the 90 seconds, so we will now go to the 60 seconds. So please vote now.
But the reason it didn't work earlier was because there was no vote being taken then when you tried to press. You can only, it doesn't only work when there is a vote. So the 60 seconds are running.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it. No, yeah, just don't worry about that.
.6% yes, 0.4% no. There is a 2/3 affirmative, and the standing rules are approved by the 2022 convention. And we have 1,050 votes, and I didn't get to catch the other one, so. Four, okay. Thank you for showing again. May we now have the presentation of the business agenda by past international president Diane Curtis, chairman of the convention committee.
Thank you, Madam President. Delegates, it's time to approve the agenda for the business program. Please turn to pages 20 to 24 of the printed program to see the agenda. As voting members of this convention, you were also emailed the official Zonta Business Program agenda, including scheduled voting items by session in your pre-convention delegate emails. It was also posted on the Zonta website and in the Hoover app, and we are now showing it on the screen. Madam President, on behalf of the Convention Committee, I am pleased to make this motion.
As the chairman of this convention, if there are no objections, Can we adopt the business agenda subject to any emergency changes by unanimous consent? And I believe we will not be doing it by unanimous consent. So I recognize the con mic. I think if you just speak into it, they are able to. I'm not.
It's not.
Ah.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit early. Madam President, my name is Gracie Sarens. I'm the incoming president and delegate of Zonta Club Waasland District 27. I move that the agenda will be changed whereby the presentation of the resolutions will be handled before the presentation of the bylaws on Monday, 27th of June, 2022.
I am Brigitte Tiens, incoming president of Zonta Antwerpen, District 27, and I second the motion.
So this motion is to change the agenda, but this is within the bylaws session. We will still be holding those bylaws sessions, and it will be tomorrow when we address the order of what will be presented during those 6.5 hours. So that motion should come forward tomorrow. And we will vote. The Bylaws and Resolutions Committee Chairman and I will be addressing the agenda within that, all of the votes that are taking place. You have in your book the bylaws sessions. We have not defined exactly what is coming in what order, and that can be adjusted tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So what do we do? Do we set this motion apart? We still have. We have to vote on. What do we have to do? So this is come forward. Okay. So this, at this time, because we have it already in the agenda for bylaws, it's listed as bylaws, but it includes the bylaws and resolutions because it's the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee. This is considered for this agenda, which is the major topics that we are covering. It is considered out of order at this time. So we will not be voting on this motion. So given that we have had someone at the mic, I believe that we should vote to accept this agenda. Yes. May I have a motion from one of my board members to accept, because we're not doing it by unanimous consent. Yeah, there's. Still working out logistics.
Mari McKenzie, International Treasurer Secretary for both Zonta International and Zonta Foundation for Women. I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
May I have a second? I have a second from our Vice President, Sala Tumanen. So we will take the vote. I know that we were not prepared to have a vote, so I don't know if the booth is ready for a vote on this. How do I? Are we ready? What's the feedback? Yes. All right. Please vote now to accept the agenda as presented by, that is in our booklet. Please vote now. I probably need to keep it with my book now that I think about it. Right, they're gonna move the table. The vote is 93.1% yes, 6.9% no for adopting the agenda as presented, and that was 991 votes yes and 74 no.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. So now we move from, we've got our agenda, and it's time for the president's report. Transitions, changes, and new opportunities. When I decided that this would be the theme for the biennium, it was before the pandemic. It was before Resolution 2 and Resolution 3 were proposed and voted on in 2020. The theme was intended to take us from one century to the next, to learn from our past, and to follow in our founders' footsteps to work for gender equality. The world has changed since Zonta was formed, but our mission has never changed from our founders' vision of helping women and girls. But the world, even pre-pandemic 2020, was very different from 1919. So it was appropriate to look at what kind of changes might be needed for Zonta in its second century. With change, there are opportunities to do things differently, to have a greater impact on improving the status of women around the world, and to ensure the longevity of Zonta International until our mission is accomplished. So that was my thinking when I was working on the plans for the 2020-22 biennium, lots of twos, when we had the incoming governor's orientation. But then in March 2020, the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 pandemic, and the world was forever changed. We all changed. This biennium was like none other. The typical plans had to be adjusted to a virtual world, and adjust we did from a face-to-face to a virtual, where we were staring at small screens and these faces on the screens. But we did adapt, and we are resilient. So let's take a look at this biennium. We had the plans. And one of the things that I address when I think about Zonta, and I want to explain what we are, I think of us as a ship. We're a big ship. We're over 1,100 clubs. We're over 25,000 members. We're big. We're not a little sailboat that's nimble. For us to stay stable, we have to maneuver very carefully, or there could be problems. And where is this ship going? It's out there to that horizon. And what's on that horizon? What are we reaching for? It's gender equality. We want our ship to go there. Even prior to the pandemic, there were some waves coming at our ship. And those waves were in regards to membership. Our membership was declining for many years, over the past decade. What does that mean when our membership is going down? We have less revenue and we have less Zontians to do the work for our service and advocacy. So we knew that we were having these problems coming at us, but these were sort of, can we manage these waves? But then March 2020, there was this rogue wave. Rogue waves are unpredictable, extremely large, and they're surface waves. So as a surface wave, what happens to our ship? Boy, it is impacted by that wave. We're very lucky. We did not capsize. We are a big ship. We're resilient. But you know, we had to scurry to correct that ship because this was a huge impact to us. The immediate thing was we had a canceled convention. So we had to change so many things so rapidly. The board didn't get together as their kickoff for this biennium. We didn't have the typical boost of foundation giving at a convention. We didn't have closure. We didn't celebrate our centennial anniversary as we had anticipated. We had anticipated for more than 2 years. We were coming up to 100 years. We missed all that. But again, we were resilient. We wanted to right that ship again. And so what did we have to do? Many of us would use our office at home, maybe a small little office, and say, okay, 1 day of the week, I can do this from home. But now we had a staff that couldn't go into their office, and we had to set up home offices. So we had to quickly do that. And I want to take this opportunity to thank our executive director, Allison, and all of our headquarters staff for making it as seamless as possible. I don't think you knew when they were in the office and when they weren't, because I didn't, and it was so seamless, the information getting out to them. And I think this is time for us to thank the international office. But as Zontians, we also had some issues. Clubs were meeting face to face, and that had been the way it was. We had fellowship. That was part of what we did. We had fundraisers, and some of our members had no problem adapting to this virtual world. But we had others that struggled, and it was more difficult to say, I'm going on a Zoom meeting, or we're not going to meet in person at all. And we gave up fundraisers. But you know, for some of our Zontians that didn't have that ability to immediately transition, they felt isolation. And so it really amplified the importance of fellowship. And I know that there are clubs who worked with their members to make sure that that isolation didn't go on for very long. And if you think about it, remember the ship that we're on. If you're in your cabin and you can't get out because you're isolated, because you didn't know what was going to happen, we had the pandemic out there, but you were just so anxious to get that breath of ocean air, that fresh ocean air. And so it started to get better. People were reaching out. But that's kind of looking at Zonta on an internal basis. What about what we were doing? We had our education programs, our international service projects. How was that impacted by this rogue wave? Well, on the education side, schools adapted pretty quickly to remote learning. So our education programs, there might have been a little waves, but they pretty much were able to just sail pretty smoothly through this transition. And we continued to make those awards during this biennium. Our international service project partners, UNICEF and UNFPA, they started working with us right away because they had the same shutdowns that we all had. They didn't have the children in school. They didn't have health centers open. And when they were open, they were overwhelmed with the pandemic. So we needed to look and work with them to adjust those specific things being done to still meet the overall objectives. And I am so pleased that we have worked with them and been in constant contact, and our objectives are still being achieved. There's been some adjustments because we all have made adjustments in our lives. As I said, the world has changed all of us forever, but it's happened. And so I'm very pleased, as I said, with what's going on. And you will hear from our partners on Tuesday. But there's another big impact that we had as a result of the pandemic. And that was where we have been so strong in trying to eliminate the violence against women and girls. We know that during this time of the pandemic, that women and girls were no longer having that breath of ocean air of getting to the office and being outside a home that was not a good home for them. And so, tempers flared, anger, violence, because you're confined with someone that you could have maybe, work with for 10 hours, 12 hours, but now it's 24 hours. And then what happens? Some of those shelters are closed, or there's less staff, they're sick. And so we saw such an increase in the domestic violence during this time frame. But there were Zonta clubs who found ways to help out. There were Zonta clubs that helped with the schools locally where they would provide the tablets and the computers. And so Zonta was helping out in whatever way we could, knowing all of these impacts that were hurting us and everyone around the world. So our ship, while we had been sailing fairly smoothly, as I said, up into this rogue wave, now we're back and we're seeing some support. This thing hit us and now we're righting ourselves, and we've got a plan and we've got approaches and we're going to move forward. We're not going to stop. But in the case of the domestic violence, the ship went backwards. It really was a problem. So now we're this big wave that's hit us. It's calmed down. We've all adapted, we now have a few waves with the next variant and the next variant, but still we had figured it out. So now what do we see on the horizon as we're still going to that gender equality? We got this wave of membership that's in front of us again. We saw it before, but it was overtaken by the rogue wave. But our forward progress isn't always forward. because we have to go into this port. And what do we do at this port? We let off 10% of our members. They don't come back. Retention rate, 90%. But how many do come back on? It's not 10%. It's less. So now we have less people on the ship. We're not making as much forward progress. We don't have as many people to do our service and advocacy. And there's another point with the stopping at these ports. Our members, 40% of our members stay 5 years or less. What does that impact to us? It's leadership. It's knowledge. When I joined, and 42 years ago plus, nearly 43, I would go and club boards, district boards, you would have 2 names on each position on a slate. You'd have maybe 3 even, but there was this pool to come into being leaders, and the members would stay. They would advance. They would have the skills, the knowledge about Zonta. And Zonta is complex. We are our own culture, our own organization. But now you've got 40% of the members leaving within 5 years. Now think about it. You're getting on the ship with these new members. There's less members coming. What happens if you have a hole in the ship? You don't have enough people to fill those positions. And I know there are some small clubs that have this issue. Or what happens is we're wanting to make this forward progress, and you need a person at each one of these stations so we can make sure that we're not hitting something over here, we're moving forward. But now you've got holes. Someone's not there, or someone has to hold that position longer than they had planned because there is no replacement. So it's a challenge. We have a challenge in front of us. And you know, we want to expand. We want more ports though to go to where we can have more members coming onto our ship to help us with our service and advocacy. But democracy is a problem in the world today. And I know my board, and before every one of our board meetings as it starts, I talk about things that are happening around the world, the impact to democracy. And we see it in Ukraine now, but we've seen it in many other countries. We also see that the number of Zonta clubs that we have in some of our countries is down to 1 or 2 clubs. Did you know that femicide is on a rise, and it was on a rise even before the pandemic? So these are the things that we are dealing with. These are the changes of the world. There's changes that we need to deal with as an organization, because I know we are all united in our service and advocacy, and we want to help women and girls. So what did we do? We have resolution 2. And resolution 2 is laying the groundwork for where our ship is going to navigate. But remember, we're a big ship. We're not that nimble sailboat. So as we think about that direction that we're going, we will need to keep making that forward progress. And I know some of you over here might say, oh, yeah, I want to move this really quick. We've got to do it. We've got to do it. And there may be some over here that said, you know, we need some changes, but how extensive do those changes need to be? And there may be questioning. We're a big ship. You don't make a 90-degree turn, because you know what happens when you make a 90-degree turn? People can fall off, and we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that we're all on board with this moving forward. So the board has issued the executive summary, which was in the club mailing. We have had the full report in the club mailing. We have had the webinar. I believe the date was April 26th. We had the workshop here yesterday. We are gathering information. You had a pulse survey that you had the opportunity to respond to last summer. There'll be another survey coming out. It is your responsibility, and I want you to carry this back to your clubs, to those that are proxies, to those clubs, to make sure that when you get another survey, that this is the opportunity for your voice to be heard. It won't be the only opportunity, but there isn't that opportunity. And I don't know the specific plans. The strategic plan is coming, but I don't know exact dates, but this is the opportunity. This is a membership organization. The clubs are the members. You're the members of those clubs. Some of you are individual members, are PIPs. We need your voice because we don't want the ship going like this all the time. We want to go to that horizon. I sure would like to have gender equality in my lifetime. That's what the founders wanted. They wanted it in their lifetime. I would like to see us really make that progress. And we have a lot of waves coming at us, but collectively, we can do it. We can make a difference. And that's what's important, that we are making a difference in the lives of women and girls around the world. So there's another piece that I haven't spoken about, and that is our foundation. Our foundation is the fuel for the ship. How else do we support our international service projects? How do we support our education programs? How did we do the things that we do? It's through the foundation. And this biennium, one of the things that I'd seen over the years is that we deal with the budgets on a biennium. We look ahead at maybe one biennium or a couple years out, but we don't take this long view picture of where we are financially. And maybe it wasn't as needed because we didn't see the declining membership that we see now, but it is so essential that this ship has continuous fuel to keep going. We don't want to stop. We want to keep going. So we have now a 10-year forecast. And that 10-year forecast is not a report that's going to open up the file cabinet, put it in the file cabinet, close it, and we're done. That's not the purpose of a 10-year forecast. The 10-year financial forecast is a living document. It needs to be updated every year. And that's the way we have proposed it, to be an ongoing annual look to have the sustainability for the organization. We've also made changes this biennium to our spending policy, our investment policy, really looking for that longevity and sustainability to get us to that horizon where we want to go. Our endowment helps us with that sustainability. We haven't reached the 10 million mark. That's our goal. You heard me say over $947,000 contributed this biennium to the endowment. We're certainly getting close. That's that near-term horizon that we want to reach. We want to reach out to that $10 million goal so that fuel can keep us going to the far goal that we have. I'm also very proud that this biennium, we had started out as Zonta Foundation for Women, as doing business as, and we are now officially, legally, only Zonta Foundation for Women. So we closed out our first century and have now successfully completed the first biennium of the second century. We continue to focus on our founders' vision and support women and girls through service and advocacy. As we continue into our second century, we must never lose sight of the boldness of our founders' vision for gender equality. We must reach for that horizon that we have been sailing towards and weather whatever storms and whatever waves come our way. By working together, we can have the forward momentum to achieve our mission of gender equality. I would like to thank the board, headquarters, international committees, governors, and all Zontians for all that you do for Zonta. We are committed to empowering women through service and advocacy. Together, we have transitioned, made changes, and created new opportunities this biennium. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think all of us over the last 2 years have had their ups and downs as we've dealt with situations, and I certainly have had mine. I'm not immune to that. But, one of the things that kept me going, besides knowing that I had to respond to Allison and headquarters sometimes, or I had to respond to the board or the governors, but it was the clubs. It was seeing what the clubs were doing. It was the share your story. And so, yes, I'd have a down moment. I think we all did. But all of that it was short because I could see the needs of the world, the needs for women and girls. And there was a group of you, our 26,000 members, who were all moving in that same direction. And so you were my fuel to keep me going in those down moments. And so I just want to thank all of you because it meant a lot. And whenever I would open one of those share your stories, it meant so much. So again, thank you. Get back to where we were on my chart. Everything we have accomplished would not have been possible without the collaboration and teamwork between the Zonta International Board and our headquarters team. It's now my pleasure to welcome Zonta International Executive Director Allison Summers to the stage to provide a brief headquarters update.
I know you are all very hungry, but we're going to be quick because we thought it would be nice while we have so many headquarters staff here that you would have the opportunity to speak to them while you're here. So this is our team. Currently it is myself and 10 other individuals. As President Sharon said, it is our joy to work for you. We are here for the mission. We care just as much about women's rights as you. When COVID happened and we were sent home, we actually never closed the office at all for a single day in the last 2 years. But when we worked from home, we had new assistants that worked with us. And so all of our families know everything about all of you. And so we just thought it would be a little fun to share what our lives looked like at home. I particularly love the child under the desk. Sharon, that was probably on a Zoom call with you. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm going to go through this quickly. So who does headquarters serve? There's 11 of us at headquarters right now, and we serve the international boards, we serve the international committees, the districts and regions, the foundation ambassadors. We had 778 award applicants that we worked with in the past 12 months. That's just 1 year. We have 1,122 clubs that we worked with. And of course, we have all of you as the delegates, and we have the club and individual members. And there are 11 of us. So we ask for your grace when we don't answer quickly, but no, it's just as important to us to have the international friendships with all of you and serve all of you. So who are we and what do we do? I have to start with the money people first. And so this is the team, Kathy and Katie, who work with the international treasurer, with your finance committees, with your investment committee, and they make sure that things like the annual report get out, that the annual financial statements are online, the tax forms are online. All of this financial information is available, and we try to be as transparent as possible. These ladies also help me with human resources, with technology, with office management. We invested a lot in technology. We talk about it quite frequently, of updating our cybersecurity and our data security and other things. This is our membership team. We currently have 2 managing all of credentialing and all of club renewals. So I think understanding that, you'd think that we are actually quite responsive under those circumstances. But we've been working hard to help all of our clubs know how to manage their own records and do your own updates so that it can be done swifter when you all know how to also do it. But they love doing the monthly new member welcome webinars. Please send us your new members so we can tell them more about headquarters. And of course, they work with your Golden Z and your Z Club student clubs. Many of you have seen Megan running around. She is the Assistant Executive Director. Both Megan and I are certified association executives. So we do this professionally for a living. And Megan does everything that touches advocacy and content. So she has worked tirelessly with your UN committee, your advocacy committee, Council of Europe committee, and she really is the internal lead with UNICEF and UNFPA. And she watches those memorandums of understanding and makes sure that when the foundation and Zonta select a program and give the money to those organizations, she is ensuring that they do everything they say they're going to do in the contract. So, yeah. So for programs, Martina hates when we say this, but we're going to take, we gave her a 25-year ribbon as well. She has been with us for over 25 years at headquarters, and she manages all of the interactions with the education awardees, getting all of the applications from you with the committees, working with them to get them their money, then making sure that we get their bios, the promotions, and she keeps the historical records. She is fantastic at what she does. And Gina is here. We can wave to her. She's running the technology. She is running the virtual convention. She has been running the Hoover app. And you probably won't see her, which is such a shame because she is a delightful individual, but she's hidden up there. So Gina is our senior content coordinator. She manages anything that is written in long form. So the statements that come out, say for the Day of the Girl Child, or just different things that she works with the president on, anything that's long form, she's working with, and she does a lot of work with the advocacy and the USA caucuses as well. She's actually the one that helps make sure that those of us, at least that are the Zontians in the US, get a text every other week of how to directly write our congressmen and our legislators from our telephones. And we'd love to find a program like that to cover other places of the world. Zonta Foundation for Women. It is a department of one right now. It is Eva. Eva does everything. She makes sure that your donations are recorded properly, that every transaction is counted for, and that the funds are all appropriately done. She does all of the marketing materials. She works with your foundation ambassadors. She makes sure that you get your pins. She is fabulous. So please, if you haven't already, go give her money at the foundation booth. So she has to work harder. And I have the communications team. There is nothing that you hadn't seen on the screen that hasn't made it across the desk of our manager, Kate. Kate is also, she's calling the show. She is the voice that you're hearing with telling us what to do and where to be. So I thank Kate. I have July 1st, in just a few days, I celebrate my 9th anniversary with Zonta, and Kate joined right before me. So it's been a privilege to have been with Kate and Megan and Martina for so long at the organization. And we also have Ellen, who's a delight. This is her first full-time job out of college. So she keeps us young, and we communicate a lot with her in emojis because it just makes us all happier, all happier. I really want to point out, though, 2 things that are new this biennium, and that's the first for women. It is an Instagram channel, but we also repost the video in other ways. We are looking for you to send us stories and articles that you see from your home countries on First for Women that we can celebrate and honor. 2 reasons. 1, because it's part of our mission to recognize when women are making those advancements. But 2, it gives us greater visibility with these women in the world when we're recognizing them for what they've done. So please help us know these wonderful First for Women stories. And last, we have this thing called A World of Difference, which is a video compilation once a month. That's the Share Your Story photos and the Share Your Story articles. As Sharon said, there's nothing that makes me more excited at headquarters when I'm too much Zoom, too much craziness. I go on the page where I look at the local service and advocacy, and I look at all the photos of you. So we just wanted to share a little bit. This is me. This is my assistant that works with me at home. It is a 75-pound golden doodle named Stella, who comes and tells me when I've been on Zoom too long. And of course, I work with the International Board, the governors, the ICCs. I put on my slide a picture of the law handbook, which is in my office, and it's like this big, because it's also part of my responsibility to work with the risk manager, work with the board, work with legal counsel to make sure that we keep this organization with the highest levels of integrity. So again, I think Sharon, you said we are not perfect people, but we strive to do our best. And it's just been my joy and privilege to have been with Zonta for so long. So thank you for letting me give a quick introduction to our staff. Say hello to them while you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you to everyone at headquarters for your contributions over the last 2 years. It is now 12:27, not 12:15 in my book, and time for lunch. We will reconvene at 1:30 sharp. Remember, we have a very tight schedule, so please be in your seats at 1:30. Thank you.